Well, welcome to Build from the Inside Out, next episode with Katie Coop. And Katie is the CEO and founder of Keeple Leopard Creative. I hope that I pronounced that correctly.
You
A
did.
branding agency based in Greater Manchester, UK. And she started her business after redundancy at 7 months pregnant and has bootstrapped her business from the ground up. And in 2023, she received her ADHD diagnosis, which made her refine her services toward helping ADHD female entrepreneurs transform their brilliant big ideas into crystal clear brand identity and a confident, compelling message. Katie has been part of the She Leads campaign run by 365 Business Finance and a delegate at the UN Women's Conference and has been nominated for Female Entrepreneur Awards within the UK. And outside of work, she's mom of two boys, wife, and dog owner who loves nothing more than spending time with her family and friends, going to the theater, and eating good food. Welcome, Katie. Welcome. And let's start with your story.
Yes, of course.
So, what led you to create a branding agency for female entrepreneurs with ADHD and why this niche?
So it basically started. So I come from the events background, but I've always been really creative. So my degree is in animation. So after I graduated, I actually went into the events industry and did a lot of events. And then it wasn't until after the birth of my eldest son that I suddenly realized I kind of wanted to go back into that creative side of things. And I wasn't quite ready to go up to any kind of design agency or design house yet because I didn't think that my skills were good enough. And so I ultimately thought, you know what, let's go into film and TV because everything is faked there. So I'm not making it for a client. So I actually went into the film and TV industry for a little bit and worked on a few programs. And then when I started my business itself, after being made redundant, I initially started doing sort of graphic design because that's what I knew. And what I was finding is when I was making things for clients, so I was creating logos, I was creating websites, promotion material, all of those kind of things, my clients still weren't getting that recognition. They still weren't getting that kind of memorability. They weren't getting that sustainable kind of business. And it wasn't until I kind of looked into it that I realized that actually there's a lot more to just a logo and just a
Mhm.
website. There is a brand behind it. And that is the bit that really intrigued me. And that's the bit that makes your business kind of have this personality, have this kind of difference from everything else, which is why I kind of niche down to being a branding agency. And then with female entrepreneurs, so I ultimately started working with female entrepreneurs. That's what I wanted my branding agency to be. I wanted it to be for female entrepreneurs because they do have issues with getting funding and being able to present themselves. So I wanted to create an agency that really honed in on them. And then when I got my diagnosis in 2023 for ADHD, I kind of thought, well, first of all, I kind of attract people anyway because we attract people that are the same as us anyway. So I had a lot of people who were neurodivergent in my community anyway and in my audience. But then I also thought that with ADHD female entrepreneurs, we struggle really hard in terms of trying to present ourselves, making sure that we know exactly what we're doing. We have that kind of feeling of we're never going to be good enough because that's what we've been kind of told. So I wanted to create an agency that actually allowed them to actually show you, go, you know what, you do know what you're talking about. You're 100% the expert, and let's show that off. And so that's how I sort of niched down into working with female entrepreneurs with ADHD.
Yeah, well, thank you, and you are doing amazing work for them. And this is not just your niche. You're living that, right?
Mhm.
So you're navigating all the challenges that are
Mhm.
coming with ADHD. But also, you've mentioned that being made redundant while pregnant was a turning point for you.
It was.
And I'm just wondering, what mindset shift helped you turn the challenge into the start of your business?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning, so I was made redundant. Ultimately, I was made redundant on the Monday, and by the Friday, I'd set up a business. That's how quick it kind of went. And I think it was sort of, when I was told I was being made redundant, I had two kind of I call sensible options. And the first sensible option was let's go and get another job, in which, because I worked in the events industry at that point, it's ultimately events industry is very much health and safety. And I thought at 7 months pregnant, I'm not going to be able to get a job in that industry because ultimately I'm just not fit to be able to do it. The second option was to just crawl into bed and just let everything kind of blow over and then hopefully get back out of it again. So that was my second option. And then I had this, what I call a wild card option of starting a business. And way back in when I was in the last year of school and also in uni, I had some experience of sort of learning about what a business is and understanding sort of those business things. And I literally started with, let's start a business, we'll see what happens. And that's as sort of as much as the business plan that I did at that point in time. It was literally, let's start it. If it doesn't work out, then no problem. It doesn't work out. We'll go back to another job. That's not off the table at the end of the day. But let's see what happens. And let's see if you make any money from it. And if you make any money from it, good. Then if you don't, then that's fine as well.
Yeah.
And it was very much, I kind of took all the pressure off of this kind of, we need to make a business and we need to make profit. I was never, when I started, I never ever thought that. It was just, let's see what happens. And I think that really helped in terms of that mindset shift, was that I didn't put any pressure on myself. It's like, I'm not trying to hit like 10K months or any of those kind of things. It's like, let's see if this works.
Yeah.
So I think that was the main thing that worked for me, was that there wasn't any sort of pressure on it and there wasn't any kind of reason, because ultimately at the end of the day, I knew that was kind of limited on what I could do anyway, because I was 7 months pregnant. There's only so much that you can do at that point anyway. So I think that was the biggest kind of shift, is just kind of letting it happen and seeing what naturally happened.
Yeah. And well, thank you for sharing that, because, well, I am facing and I'm meeting so many female entrepreneurs who are making that a goal. Like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to get that 10K a month or something like that. And it seems like by that thinking, they create kind of a boundaries for themselves, or they got scared, or they are limiting their creativity by creating that numbers in their head, right? And they are so many times they're just afraid to take risk, right? Because they have no idea, okay, so what if I choose this path or that direction, where will I where will I get, right? And another thing that I wanted to ask you, so a lot of women start businesses with high hopes, right? And unfortunately they end up overwhelmed. From your experience, what do you think makes the early stage feel so intense?
I think it's the initial realization that suddenly you're doing everything. It's you're wearing all the hats, even if you didn't want that hat, you're having that hat. So you're having to do all of these different things that maybe if you're coming from employment like I did, that lots of other departments did. So you have to learn that, and you've got to kind of learn it on the go. It's not something that you sort of sit down and sort of do and then go, right, now I'll start a business. It's kind of you're doing it, you're running. So I think that's the initial part of where that kind of overwhelm is suddenly that realization is that I'm doing everything. Also, the consequence of doing that is like, if I don't do it, then the business is not going to run. This is on me. There's nobody else that I can blame. There's no teammate or somebody who said, oh, they didn't do this bit. Everything is on you. This is what you've got to do. So I think that's a very big sort of kind of part of the overwhelm. I think also part of the overwhelm is that especially when you go on social media, if you decide to do social media, you don't have to do social media for marketing. That's one thing that I would say, is that suddenly everybody's doing stuff and they seem to be doing it much better than you. That's 100% what happens. Is you look at everybody else and kind of go, how are they getting to these kind of months and things? And obviously on social media, we're showing the highlights. That's what social media is. It's the highlights of things. We're not going to show those kind of really hard times when you're sort of up at like 1 a.m. trying to work out what this is, or something hasn't worked, or a launch has failed, or all of those kind of things. You never see that. And so those people that you see who are like, yes, we're doing it, and they seem to be able to like put out services and loads of people buy them, they've had years of all of these things happening to them, and they've had to go through exactly the same thing in terms of working out what they're doing, how they're doing it, and it's taken years. And so I think all of that sort of put together, that brings in the overwhelm of, I should be doing better in business. And there's nothing there that you don't need to be doing better in business. I think that's where the overwhelm comes from.
Yeah, well, and thank you for bringing this into the light, and I can get that, and I like that you mentioned like you are wearing hats that you don't want to.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. And also, when I was building my business, when that was the beginning,
Mhm.
I realized, well, okay, it's not just about coaching. I
No.
need to learn how to market. I need to learn how to
Mhm.
message. I need to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
And what helped me is just to accept that, okay, this is a part of my job.
Mhm.
So this is
Exactly.
part of my job description, right? I don't have a
Mhm.
team. I have just me,
Exactly.
and this is it, right? So I think that also a big thing is just accept that, okay, this is the part of your journey.
Yeah.
And also, um you just also mentioned that everything is on you, and how not to fall in this trap that
Mhm.
you are responsible for everything, and that heavy weight of responsibility, especially for us women who came from 9 to 5 or
Yeah.
corporate world. We were taught that, well, you have to be busy to be seen productive, right? But
Mhm.
entrepreneurship is not about creating images, being
No.
seen, like, right? We
Mhm.
need results, and that's
Yeah.
another thing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Definitely.
well, and well, Katie, if you could go back to a day one of your business with a magic wand,
Mhm.
what's the one thing you'd give yourself or solve instantly?
Mhm. 100%, I would go back and look at my brand. That is beyond what I would do, and I know that that is my job, and ultimately you're going, "Well, she's of course she's gonna say that it's a job," but I really would do that because when I started, I didn't have a chance to do that. I was literally, "Let's get this moving, let's get this up and running, let's go." I didn't have a chance to sort of sit down and work out, "Who am I? What am
Mhm,
I doing? How am I doing this? Why am I doing this?" That was a big part of what branding is. And I think just being able to sit down and have that kind of clarity first would
mhm,
help with sort of running the business and help with sort of knowing exactly what I want to do and how I'm going to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to be taking risks because in entrepreneurship, every day's a risk.
oh yeah.
Ultimately, that's how it works. Is every day's a risk and every day's a learning day and every day's going to something's going to fail at some point. That's what entrepreneurship is. That's what you sign up for. But I think just having that time to just sit with it and sort of go, how am I doing this? And how is this all going to look? Would have really, really helped with sort of
Mhm,
building the business because ultimately I make it. I'm very honest. I've rebranded my business 3 times
mhm,
because certain parts of the evolution of my business I needed to do that in order to get to where I was just now. Potentially, if I'd had a brand in place, I might have only rebranded once or twice. Um, so I think just having that time to just sit and just kind of go, what is this? And I think a lot of female entrepreneurs as well don't do this as well. They feel like if we're starting a business, we've got to run and we've
yeah,
got
yeah.
to show and
Mhm,
we've got to
mhm.
show results straight away. And I think it's one of those. It's just like business is not a sprint; it's a marathon. So
Oh yes.
take your time and get it kind of sorted. And your brand works with you throughout your business journey anyway. So it'll evolve over time. But just putting those initial foundations in place first would have
Mhm.
really, really helped. So I think
Yeah.
going back, that's what I would have done.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe in the clarity, because, well, clarity gives you everything. You can market yourself more effectively, right? You can, and you will sharp your message, right? So it will be shaped because of you having that clarity. And I like that you were saying that actually entrepreneurship is not a sprint, it's a marathon, especially if you want to be successful, if you want to scale up, if you want to have a team or hire people,
Mhm.
right? If you want to get that success and be able to enjoy what you are doing, right? Not just being burned out of all the actions that you are taking. Yes. And you know that. I have a question about. I have a question for you as well. You are a brand expert and you help ADHD entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So, how do you help your clients balance creative energy with consistency? Right, because we know that that's the thing, that the focus is challenge for your audience.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So, first thing, as I would say, branding is a big part of your business. It's also a very big, I'd call it, it's a big beast. As soon as you look at it and you look at actually what branding is, there is a lot of pieces that go into it, and it also influences a lot in your business. It influences who you're going to be talking to. It influences your marketing. It influences your business decisions. At the end of the day, if it aligns with your brand, then that's what you're going to be going with. So it's first of all initially saying that, again, this is not something that you're going to create and you'll do this in a couple of days and off you go. This is going to be something that's going to take a while. So be prepared for that, first of all. And what we do is we kind of break it down. And as I said before, when I was saying that with a brand, it's learning who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you do it. That's what we break it down into. We break it down into those stages. And quite often when I'm working with my clients, sometimes they will even say to me, I don't know, I need to go back and think about it. And that's what the beauty is of branding, is going, okay, we'll go and sit and have a think about it, see if it sits well with you. If I've suggested something, they're like, I'm not quite sure. It's like, right, we'll go and have a think about it, see if that works, see if that makes sense to you. If it doesn't, then we can tweak it, we can change it. So branding is never something that is done quickly. It's also something that is actually never ever done anyway. So it's always going to be evolving with the business. So as your business grows, as your clientele change, even if you sort of still angle it at the same kind of people that you want to do, they may change, their ideas may change, their likes and dislikes will change. So you're always going to be a little bit fluid with your brand anyway, but it's making sure that they have those foundations in place so that if they want to evolve it, if they want to change it, then they can do, because those foundations are very, very clear. So they're not changing the foundations, they're just changing the bits that you see, in which you'll probably see, if you go on my socials, you'll see that my visual brand changes quite often. It's changed again, actually. But that's because the foundations are in place. So I can do that because I know the foundations are in place. So that's ultimately what we do. And we kind of break it all down. So it's not this big piece of, oh my God, we need to do all of this in one go. It's little bits at a time, and you can change little bits at a time as well.
Yes. And, you know, I like that you are saying, or you are even naming that entrepreneurship is fluid, right? And you are the business owner, and this is for you to decide, okay, so if I don't like this service or product, if it's not fulfilling, I have the freedom to change. And that was a aha moment that I've got when I talked to my coach a couple of years ago, when she was talking to me saying, well, this is the beauty of being an entrepreneur. You can change. You can change your decision. You can change your direction. You can change whatever you want just to feel yourself, so that it's fulfilling, it's empowering you, it's not draining you. Because I haven't seen a successful business that drained the owner or the CEO. It
Yeah,
seems like this is a myth, or this is something that will never happen.
exactly.
And I saw so many businesses fail because they were chasing someone else's ideas, or they were chasing someone else's strategies. Like someone will tell you, okay, if you do XYZ, you will get that 10K per month. But if
Yeah.
you see that this is something that you don't like actually, or you are not that confident in providing your audience with, right, that will never work. That
No,
will never work.
no,
Yeah.
it never ever works. And
Yeah.
it never works, especially when those kind of things, where it's like, if you follow this, then you'll get 10K months. Every business is different. So yes, the theory might be there, but it's probably not going to work. And I think that's a big thing that people need to realize, is that every business is different. So what worked for them to get the 10K months probably isn't going to work for you, because your business is completely different. So
Yeah. And Katie, so branding is all about being visible, right? It's about being recognizable. It's about being there with your clients, with potential clients, with your audience. What about the self-doubt? How do you help your clients feel safe and seen in their brand, especially when they're afraid of being, for example, too much or not enough?
yeah. So I think this is one of the things that is really misunderstood about branding, is the fact that actually branding gives you control of what people know about you and what people understand about you.
Mhm.
And so when you use branding correctly, what you're actually doing is you're putting in place guidelines that says, I want people to know this about me, but you're also putting in guidelines and saying there's a boundary here. So you don't need to publicize everything that's going on. You don't need to do that. I know that a lot of people talk about authenticity, but authenticity doesn't mean that let's share everything that's happening in the world. That's not what it
So true.
is. It's working out what the truth is. So when I talk to my clients, and how I teach it is that everything that we're doing in the branding is 100% based on truth. So one of the things with ADHD is that we have this social injustice kind of system in place. We don't like telling lies. It doesn't fit right, and it doesn't feel right to us. So ultimately, when we're building brands, we're building everything on truth. Everything that we're telling is 100% truthful. So even if somebody says to us, that doesn't make sense, or I don't think that's true, then you have that inner confidence to kind of go, well, it is, because that's what my story is. That's what my values are. That's what my vision is. And there's nothing else that you can do. So you start getting that kind of confidence. The other thing with branding as well, in which I know that a lot of people hate niching, but I absolutely adore niching, because I think it's so good, because ultimately what you're doing is you're trying to find the people that are going to benefit the most from your services. That's how I tell my clients, that's what niching is.
Mhm.
Um, and so when you find those people, and when you understand those people, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, because the people that you're talking to, the people that are going to be your dream clients, the people that are going to be your audience, they're the ones that matter. So, and they're going to love whatever you do. It doesn't matter if you do something wrong. It doesn't matter if things go incorrectly or launches go wrong, because to them, they're going, well, that's fine. We don't really care about that. We're just interested in what you're doing. And so all of these things like trolls and things, you'll always get people, especially when you start getting a bigger business, you will start getting people that are critical and opinionated and have decided that today's the day that they're going to post a comment for some reason. They don't have anything better to do. But because you know who your audience is, and because you know they understand who I am and they know what I'm like, it kind of protects you from that. It kind of shields you from all of that kind of negativity. And you kind of almost in a weird way have a blinker on and go, you know what, I don't really care about them. I care about these people. So, and that's what branding does, is it kind of makes sure that you're protected in a way. And it means that people are going to learn about stuff that you've said that you want out in the world, not stuff that people are just kind of making up. And that's what's really clever about branding, and what's really interesting about branding.
Yeah, I love how you define branding, and thank you for talking about boundaries, because there are so many experts out there who are talking about, well, you have to be authentic,
Yeah.
but also what does it mean, and how and what that looks like. No one is aware, right? And for example, well, I know that I can be authentic there with my niche and with my clients, but I'm not sharing. For example, I can talk about my family, but I will never share their pictures,
Yeah.
never, because
So,
this is a kind of a rule that I have. I can share my pets, I
mhm,
can share myself,
mhm,
and well, yeah, again, I can talk about my family,
mhm.
but well, no one will see their pictures.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm exactly the same, because I ultimately think, with especially with my two sons as well, is that I want to give them the opportunity to decide whether or not they're
Of
going to post on
course.
social media. So
Yeah.
we hardly, both me and my husband, have decided that we don't
Mhm.
really share anything online until they're ready to make that decision. Then they have that choice to do it. So yeah, I'm exactly the same. But
And
at
yeah,
the
and this
same
is
time,
great. Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, people know that I'm a mum, because I will
Yeah.
talk about it,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
that's being authentic. That's what authenticity is.
And
You don't have to share everything.
yeah, and that's enough. And well, funny thing is, my dog, he has his own Instagram profile.
Brilliant.
Shelly the corgi. Yeah, well, it's a bit outdated, but sometimes my girls they post something about him, something fun.
Oh,
And I also had a conversation with my oldest daughters, and I have three, so two of them are almost adults, and
mhm,
they have their, of course, they have their social media. And I'm just, we just had a conversation. So be careful with what you're
mhm.
posting, with what photos of you, what pictures are you placing there, because this is forever.
Yeah.
And also, we had a conversation about LinkedIn, because this is more professional
Mhm.
thing. And we also were talking about how to be strategic and mindful about the conversations that you have there. What are you posting? What are you sharing? Because, well, your next employer will see that.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And that's how people connect with each other, is they're looking to see if do you fit. And that's ultimately, even if you were going into employment, that's what's happening, is they're seeing
Yeah.
whether or not you fit with their values, you fit with their
Mhm.
vision, all those kind of things. So yeah, being able to kind of control what you do. And I mean, like, branding is, there's business branding and there's personal branding. It's the same thing. You're doing exactly the same
Mhm.
thing with each. With
Yeah.
personal branding, you're just making sure that what people see about you is what you want
Mhm.
to see. So
And Katie, you mentioned how important is it it is to work with your energy and not
mhm.
against that. And can you share how that changed the way you plan or lead your business?
Yeah. So after my diagnosis for ADHD, obviously I went down that big rabbit hole of what is this? How do I do this? What, all of these things. And quite often with ADHD is we're not very good with time management. My time management is ultimately I will turn up an hour early to anything. That's normally what happens. With my ADHD diagnosis, I turned up to the appointment a month early because I was just very keen. So we're very poor with time management. But what we're really good at is energy management, which is understanding our own bodies and learning about when we've got high energy, low energy, and medium energy. And so that's how I pretty much plan my business. So I ultimately know what kind of things are going to require high energy, which is normally things like strategy, research, working with people, networking takes a lot of energy as well. So I plan my day based on what my energy levels are going to be.
Mhm.
Um, Ultimately, it doesn't always work because I have deadlines still to me. I also have networking events that won't always fit in that, but I make sure that I change things around. So, for instance, if I have a networking event for a full day, then I'll make sure the next day is blocked out so that I can recharge and I can make sure that I'm productive. And it means that ultimately I'm not going to get burnt out, because when I get burnt out, it is really burnt out. It's like we're not doing anything. My brain is not going to work.
Mhm.
Um, Also with ADHD is because we have almost a deficit with dopamine, and that's the thing that gets us motivated and that's what gets us going. So if I've got low energy, then my dopamine's not there. It's really, really low. So regardless of whether or not I sit and go, right, you need to do work, my brain is going, not today. We don't have enough. There is nothing there that is going to make it do it. And this is where people sort of feel that kind of anxiety, because they're sitting there and going, well, I need to do stuff, but I can't actually do it. I physically can't make it. And that's what ADHD is. So it's working with my brain. And ultimately, as an ADHD, I'm not medicated. I decided not to go on
Mhm.
medication because I wanted to work with my brain. And because I'm an entrepreneur, I have the autonomy to work out how my day is going to go and the
Yeah.
flexibility to do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I would rather work with it rather than against it. So I would make sure that that energy is there, and I even kind of plan. So I plan my day in sort of systems. So if, say, for instance, I have low energy, then I start a system which I've already kind of pre-planned, and I literally
Mhm.
just click on it and it says do this, do this, do this. So it takes out all that executive function as well. It's like just do this and you're done, and it helps really, really well. So I run it by energy rather than time management.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that our listeners can pick your advice and yeah, can implement it too. But coming back to the advice, what's one piece of advice you would give to a female entrepreneur who just started out but already feeling behind?
The first thing I would say is, what are you behind with? Is my first kind of question, is what do you think you're behind with? Because at the end of the day, everybody starts at different parts. We're
Mhm.
all going to different destinations. We're not going in the same direction. So why are we behind in things? There's no behind. There's no I should be here. There's no sort of, everybody's journey is different. Ultimately, I kind of say to people that Coca-Cola started in 1857. So that's how long they've got been going for before they got sort of global domination of
Mhm.
where they are now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they
Mhm.
have been going for a while. These big businesses like Nike and IKEA and all of those things, they have been going a long time. So in order to get to that stage, they've had to go a while. So I think that's my main sort of thing, is ultimately saying you're not behind. There's no sort of reasoning for it. Just take your time, and also kind of, it's there to be enjoyed. I think people forget that for entrepreneurship, you've chosen this lifestyle. It's not something that you kind of go into school and go, I want to be an entrepreneur. And they go, okay, here's the career path for you. That's definitely not on the cards. They kind of go, that's a bit weird. So I think if you've chosen that journey, enjoy the process. I also think as well, every single part of my process, I think there's been lots of times where I have done things wrong. There's been failures. all the time,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't change it because ultimately I have to go through those things in order to get to where I am now. So if you're trying to skip those kind of things and go, I want to get to those 10K months, I want to get to the six figure in like 5 days or something silly like that, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff that you need to learn. There's a lot of things in entrepreneurship that you have to learn. Part of it is mindset. That's a big part of entrepreneurship. Other parts as well is just learning all of those bits. So I kind of say, instead of thinking that you're behind, just kind of go along with the ride, just see what it's like, see what happens. If you get opportunities, say yes to them, see what goes on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say definitely not behind. You're just on your own journey.
Yeah, well, thank you. Such a wonderful advice. And Katie, if someone is listening and feeling drawn to your work, how can they connect with you or explore working with you in a way that feels aligned?
Yeah, so I am mostly on Instagram. I am on LinkedIn as well, but I'm mostly on Instagram. That's where you'll find me hanging out there.
Mhm.
I also have my website as well, which I'm pretty sure you'll pop all the links and things
Yep.
onto it as
Mhm,
well.
mhm, mhm.
And I also have a masterclass coming up on the 10th of June, which I am going to be going through all the kind of branding stuff, but for ADHDers, of how to kind of put that together, how you make it flexible, and lots of other pieces as well. It's going to be a really kind of jam-packed sort of session as well. So there's lots of things that are kind of going on. But yeah, just reach out. I'm always happy to have a chit chat, have a bit of a brew, and have a natter with anybody. So yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. And all links will be shared in the comments or in caption. And thank you all for being here with us today and listening to Katie. I really appreciate you being with us today, and stay tuned to our next episodes. Thank you and bye
Yeah.
bye.